Hello and welcome back to First Impressions. This is a show where my co-host Dash Hooper and I evaluate a new album each week, and its first rule has to be an album we've never heard before. After playing it, we take notes, rate it in a variety of categories, and let you know our thoughts. So today, we're going to be looking at Graceland, the 1986 album by Paul Simon. And if I'm not mistaken, we've hit a couple 1986 ones.
Yeah, we've had a few.
Yeah. So 1986, good year for the Mets. Last truly good year for the Mets. So that's about my big memory of 1986. Like, okay, I was alive. I remember the World Series. That's
Was that
Paul
when
Simon.
Bill Buckner sent the ball through his
That was behind the bag. It goes through Buckner. Yeah, I remember that. I was watching that one and enjoying the hell out of it. 2 years later, when they played the Dodgers, it was not great. Being in LA area when the Dodgers beat the Mets, everyone I knew had to call and rub it in. So it's like, just leave me alone, dude. I'm 14. I'm already grumpy enough. I don't need your help.
Nice.
So hey, Pops, how's it going?
Hey,
so we're gonna be digging into Graceland by Paul Simon, and this one's got a lot. I found multiple podcasts because there's a lot of baggage with this album, is what I discovered.
Oh, yeah,
it is loaded with the baggage. I tried to get as much of it as I possibly could when we get into the history of the album. So
yeah, you're gonna bring it up
for that.
Yeah, you're gonna bring it up, but yeah, when you bring it up, I'll put a mention in there. But you can definitely tell. You can definitely tell.
Yeah. So as always, we're gonna start off with the history of the artist. And yeah, he's one of those artists that you cannot love him, but you know him. So Paul Simon was born in blah. I am marble mouth today. I'm gonna try to get my shit together. So it's like, shake it out. Back to this. All right, so Paul Simon, born October 13th, 1941 in Newark, New Jersey, and he was raised in Queens, New York. He's definitely one of those artists you think about as a New York artist, along with Dylan, who would have been, a seminal New York artist. And from what I heard, Dylan watched him play one time and laughed at him, and then they toured together, so I guess the bad blood got buried. But his father was a musician, and that exposed him to music early on. And while he was in elementary school, he met Art Garfunkel, who became his greatest collaborator. They worked together, they formed a friendship and a musical partnership. And in the 1950s, they performed as Tom and Jerry. The reason they made them go under Tom and Jerry is because the record executives thought Simon and Garfunkel was far too Jewish to be marketable. So they called them Tom and Jerry. And I'm thinking, all right, how's that better? But now you're thinking of a cartoon mouse and a cartoon cat. But, record labels, it's an ongoing theme in this show. They suck. That's what it comes down to is record labels and the executives, they're out for the money. They're just awful, and it kind of comes up over and over again. So they released one song, Hey Schoolgirl. I listened to it. It's very 50s. You can't. Oh, yeah. It is very 50s. You could put it on the jukebox in a little diner in the 50s, and it fits right in. And they stayed apart for a little bit and reunited as properly Simon and Garfunkel, not cartoon cat and mouse anymore. And then they released in 1965 an electrified version of The Sound of Silence. It hit number 1, and from there they skyrocketed. They released the Sound of Silence album. They released Parsley, Sage, Rosemary, and Thyme, Bookends, Bridge Over Troubled Water, which had The Boxer, and monster string of hits, one after the next. And then in 1970, they broke up because there were huge tensions between the two of them that just they keep coming back. I think they reunite, they can stomach each other for one tour, and then they're done with each other again. Yeah. But Paul Simon definitely came out the better end when it came to solo career.
Definitely.
So he launched his solo career in the 1970s. His first album was just Paul Simon, self-titled, and it had Me and Julio Down by the Schoolyard. That one is huge. I think that's probably the first Paul Simon song that I knew that wouldn't be Simon and Garfunkel when I was a kid.
Yeah.
There Goes the Rhythm, or There Goes Ryman Simon in 1973, which has Kodachrome. I learned that one from the Coneheads. That's where I know that song because of the Coneheads. So that's, that's where I learned that song. I like it, but I thought it was about the Coneheads when I was watching the movie, and it's not about the Coneheads. It's not Coda Cone, as I mistook it for when I heard it the first time. And it's not a song purely about the Coneheads, which people will write songs for movies. But yeah, that one's not about a Conehead, just put in the movie. So that's how I knew it. And then Still Crazy After All These Years, 1975, won the Grammy for Album of the Year, has 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover, and that was huge. And then what happened was he started to kind of hit a rut. He was releasing albums, they weren't getting the same kind of critical acclaim, and he was getting labeled kind of in that dad rock category. Before we labeled things as dad rock, he was dad rock. He was not cool, he was not hip, he was not an MTV generation artist, and that's what had started to bubble up in the 80s. He released an album that flopped, and that was what was that one called?
That was Hearts and
Bones.
Hearts and Bones, yeah.
So 1983, he released Hearts and Bones. It did not do well, and he also tried his hand at writing a movie and acting in it, and that was what was that called? One Trick Pony. Also flopped. So he kind of found himself outside of the realm of popularity. At one point, he's winning Grammys, he's selling albums, and people are just kind of they dad rocked him, and that was that. So,
hi Jack.
Well,
welcome aboard.
Yeah, welcome aboard. Hope you enjoy the show. And yeah, he had hit kind of a creative lull, even though the album now reevaluated, it's looked at as one of his stronger albums because it's kind of the breakup album, and you get bits of that in this one as well. But the album we're covering today, Graceland, kind of put him right back on the map, right back in prominence. And from there, he just kind of rode a wave that took him through the 90s, and he released multiple albums. I mean, he's got a huge catalog. And in 2018, he announced a retirement from touring, although he played a string of one-off shows in LA. I think it was either this year or last year. So he'll still play shows, but just not a full-fledged tour. So yeah, in his career, he's won 16 Grammy Awards, including a Lifetime Achievement Award. He's been inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame twice. One is with Simon and Garfunkel. One is just as a solo artist. So yeah, he's regarded as one of America's greatest songwriters, and he's influenced artists all throughout different times and genres. So we'll talk about that today, because with Graceland, I can definitely hear the influence in certain artists. So when we start to actually dig into our thoughts, I'll talk about that. But yeah, there's kind of the world's briefest history on Paul Simon. There's books. You can go read those, because I just read the Wikipedia page. But as always, unless I have read the books, which happens sometimes, then I know more. But in this case, I just did kind of the brief history. But this album, Graceland, that we're going to be talking about, the album that put him back on the map, that rose him back to prominence, got him away from dad rock for a minute at least. Although I think if you talk to kids then, they probably would have thought that it was more dad rock. I guess it's more the video with Chevy Chase that got him out of dad rock category.
That was the funk breaker right there.
Yeah, I think so. So after 1983's Heart and Bones, he was struggling creatively. He was dealing with writer's block and just kind of not being the man for a minute. He didn't sell a ton of albums. The critics didn't love it initially. So he was looking for a new direction, and he discovered a cassette of South African township music. And if the rumors are correct, he got it from one of the former band members of Saturday Night Live, and she was handing it to him saying, we should do something and create music like this. And he's like, cool, I'll take care of this. You just, sit there doing nothing still. So yeah, there's several discussions of plagiarism and kind of jerkiness throughout this album.
Yeah, that would not surprise me. I mean, he was as many times as he done Saturday Night Live. That would not surprise me that rumor's true.
Yeah, so I forget the name of the woman, but yeah, that's what it was said was one of the times he performed. She gave him the cassette and said, oh, we should really do something. Listen to this music. And, regardless of whether he stole it or not, because he's going to say he didn't, she's going to say he did, and there was no official lawsuits. So I think that's what the answer to most of this is. There's no official lawsuit. Talk about all the different things in this album. He loved it and decided to travel to Johannesburg in 1985, and there he was going to collaborate with different South African musicians. And at this time, that was very frowned upon because South Africa was dealing with apartheid, and there was basically this cultural boycott. But Quincy Jones kind of gave him his approval, said it's blessing. Okay. Yeah. He gave his blessing. There you go. There's the word I was looking for. So he gave his blessing, saying that you're not supporting the whites who are, enforcing this apartheid. You're working with Black African musicians, and that it's not something that is looked at with negative. So he pulled multiple South African musicians and recorded the majority of the album in South Africa. One of the ones that come up a lot in it, I think it's a couple songs, is the Lady Black Mambazo.
Yeah, Lady Smith Black Mambazo.
Lady Smith Black Mambazo. So he recorded a lot with them. Stimela, the accordionist, and I'm gonna mispronounce it. I do apologize. It's like, I believe it's Forer, Ohelo, something like that. Yep. And yeah, I'm just getting it wrong. And then Bakati Kumalo, who was a bassist. And again, if I'm mispronouncing it, you can spell it phonetically in the comments and let me know, because I do apologize. I'm doing my best, but did not figure out how to do the pronunciation. So on this album, he blended American folk, pop, and South African rhythms, and it the majority was recorded there. He finished the last bit of it in New York and New Orleans, where he got the Zydeco band and Los Lobos, where he recorded with them.
Yep.
And released it in August 25th, 1986, and it blew the heck up. So it blew up, sold at, I believe at present, 16 million copies, and put him back on the map, essentially. He was, going from looking like he was going to fall apart and maybe just kind of fade into obscurity. And really what he did with Garfunkel was enough to solidify him as, an amazing artist. And even his solo career up to that point, if this were the end of it, it would have been strong, but he came back in stride. So yeah, this album blew him up. I guess before I say anything, let's talk about the reviews.
Well, I think he went into the funk right around the time he divorced, or him and Carrie Fisher.
Yeah,
really had because they were high profile for a year, mm-hmm. but they were high profiled, and then it just kind of went. And I think that's where his writer's block, I'm going to call his writer's block, depression, whatever he was going through, definitely hit him.
So whatever it was about going to South Africa just kind of rejuvenated him as a songwriter, rejuvenated him. I mean, it rejuvenated his career, because he went from, a failed movie, a failed album, and probably thinking, wow, I've tried my hand in multiple things and I'm just flopping hard. And then this, all of a sudden, Rolling Stone reviewed it, called it the most important and accomplished record of the decade, and it is on the top 500. So I always look that up, and it's one of the few, because we've done a few that have started strong and dropped down through the years,
This
or
is
started
maintained.
strong and then dropped off, where the more recent lists they drop down or get removed. This one started in the very first edition at number 81, and then 2012, when they did their first revision, it moved up to 71, and then they did one in 2020, and in that one it moved to number 46. So this one, they look at its importance and rank it higher each time, instead of realizing, okay, new stuff has come out, this one has to get taken off. And Robert Christgau, we always talk about him. He called it an album of boundless imagination, although I got to laugh at his review because he said Paul Simon still has a wimpy voice. It's like, all right, Robert's still going to take his jabs.
I don't know if it's wimpy as much as sometimes it just feels monotone.
Yeah.
Monotonous. Yeah.
It kind of sits at one level, but yeah, Christgau just called it wimpy. I'm like, all right, you're the man. I love reading his reviews, and with a lot of the older albums, he's one that we can always pull up, unless he deems the album unworthy of his time, and then we don't get a Christgau one. But we got it on this one, and he called it great. But yeah, he said it was a merging of music and an English lit major. So it was, yeah, it's like, okay, I can see that. So yeah, Christgau, he's the man. And there were critics. The major criticisms that came were because he violated the South African boycott. And it was hugely debated. Some countries refused to play songs from it, but the musicians who were on it, they said that it was actually giving them exposure and better opportunity in a place where they wouldn't be allowed to play in a lot of the venues because they were all white. So if he had gone there and recorded with a group of white musicians, they would have destroyed him. We would have never heard anything from this album. It would have been, he released it, the world hated him, and that was the end of that, because he would have broken the boycott. But since he recorded with the black musicians, I think it lent credibility and got him away from the controversy. There's still a bit of controversy, and we'll get to it when we start digging into the songs, but it won Grammy. It won the Grammy for Album of the Year in 1987. So it won the Grammy and sold over 16 million copies worldwide. And yeah, he's won a huge amount of Grammys, and this was one to his vast collection of them. So yeah, it remained on the Billboard charts for over 90 weeks. I think Chevy Chase had something to do with that one.
Yeah, a little bit.
It also brought world music to the mainstream. That it had been done before, but not on this level of popularity. There were other artists who tried it, and I think of Peter Gabriel, and I had to look up In Your Eyes, because I know that has the African singers in the background, and that was released a few months after Graceland. And you can't say that, he was so influenced by Paul Simon, because he would have obviously been recording it before Graceland came out. He couldn't be scramble and throw out an album in 2 months, but it did predate it, and Peter Gabriel definitely played a lot in the world music as well.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, listen, this is, because we were talking about Connor, but I mean, this was a guy who was going through, probably an existential crisis, his midlife crisis.
Yeah.
And you got to think, had he not gone to do this album, would he have ever succeeded? Because like we said, the Hearts and Bones, that flopped. And I mean, I'm 11 years old at the time this Hearts and Bones comes out. So I know, I'm not saying I'm the great music critic of all time, but Paul Simon, you know who Paul Simon is. And going into my teen years, this was a guy that you'd listen to all the time, Paul and Simon and Garfunkel. And so, yeah, this is a guy who went through, was going through some stuff. So I for one, I'm glad that he got to go over and record this. So
Yeah,
I
and
agree with the reviews 100% that this is
yeah,
uh, definitely a very fine album, and I'm glad and probably in 2028 when they do it again, or 2030 whenever they do it again, it'll probably be even higher
I'm
on the
sure. Yeah, I'm sure it's not. I can't imagine it going down. If
yeah.
nothing else, it's going to hold steady and probably show growth. And yeah, so John just pointed out that he is a 5-timer on SNL, and yeah,
Cool.
I tried to find his 85 performance of Diamonds on the Soles of Her Shoes, and I couldn't find it. I found a more recent one, but a lot of those early SNL performances are hard to find. So I tried to find it because like when we did the Tribe Called Quest, that particular SNL performance where they were dealing with the loss of Fife Dog, and him putting the mic up to the painting is so powerful. So I wanted to find it because all through my research I read about how great that performance was, because he brought the Lady Smith Black Mambaza with him to perform, and it brought rave reviews and it helped bring the album even farther up.
Yeah.
And this was an album that was already sitting on a huge pedestal, and people loved it, the critics loved it, and fans embraced it too, which is the thing, because critics can love something, but that doesn't necessarily mean fans are going to love it
Yeah.
too, because especially when you get those super esoteric albums, or if you're thinking about movies,
Marvel.
some
Marvel.
art house movie, and the critics are all going to give it the greatest ratings, and the fans are going to not want to touch it because it's it's going to be too dull for them to watch, or too weird for them. And this can easily happen in music as well, but this one kind of resonated on both sides of things. That's why it's 16 million copies sold. He can buy himself a homestead in South Africa from this album alone. He can
Absolutely.
keep himself a vacation house. All right, so let's talk about our history with Paul Simon. Oh yeah, and I didn't mention in the reviews, I always got to look for Pitchfork and their decimals. And this one, 9.2 from the Pitchfork decimal system. So yeah, they gave it a 9.2. We just covered a few albums that they had given 10s, the Beastie Boys and the Tribe Called Quest. So this one, not worthy of a 10 in Pitchfork. It gets a 9.2.
So is that how we're going to have to start organizing our music, is by the Pitchfork decimals instead of the Dewey
it's like
decimal
the Dewey
system?
decimal system.
We're gonna have the Pitchfork decimal system.
Yeah, the Pitchfork decimal system. I'm gonna rearrange all my albums according to the Pitchfork decimal system.
Yeah, that's you'll find Graceland under 9.2.
Yeah, we'll flip over to the 9.2s and you'll find it there.
Yeah.
There's the 10.0 section would be very sparse because Pitchfork rarely gives it. I think I have the Beastie Boys one, I have the Tribe Called Quest one, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they gave In the Airplane Over the Sea by Neutral Milk Hotel a 10 as well.
Oh wow.
Which I love that album. We can't review it because I've heard it too many times, but that was one of those. Yeah, you were the indie kid, and that was the one you had to listen to. Although, yeah, there's a few of those ones that they told me I should be listening to when I was deeply into the indie music, and I didn't, because like, you're not going to tell me what to do. Go to hell. So we can cover them on the show because I told them no. So yeah, we'll have to dig into some of those because we're actually ready. We're ready to pick our next batch. So we're going to be coming at you with new picks. So it should be fun.
That's
still pestering bands, but at the moment I don't have any. So it's just going to be what we come up with. So it should be fun.
Yeah.
All right. So now we talked about the Pitchfork Dewey decimal system. File this one under 9.2. But now, what's your history with Paul Simon?
Listen, you don't like it. I said Simon and Garfunkel. My brother introduced me to a lot of the greats growing up, living together, and like I said, from Sabbath and Deep Purple to to Simon and Garfunkel, and that's the stuff that you listen to growing up. And then he goes off, they go solo, and like I said, I'm in the MTV phase and moving into my country music phase.
Mhm.
because because the only time you're going to get to hear rock and roll a lot of times around here at that time was on MTV or Friday Night Videos. But yeah, I just Hearts and Bone. I didn't. Nothing was good about it. I mean, I shouldn't say that. It just didn't hit right. It didn't.
Yeah.
You're not feeling it, and then you give up on it, and then here comes You Can Call Me Out, and
Yeah.
uh, it's just fantastic. And uh, you're right. So like I said, he went through a lot. I think I don't know what it. There was a lot of rumors and innuendos and things like that of things that he was going through. And but yeah, that's my history. Is just I love Simon and Garfunkel. There's not a
Yeah.
Simon and Garfunkel album that I don't love. And and you're right. Paul Simon got to go off and do more music, where Art Garfunkel got to star in a movie with Jack Nicholson as friends. So, um,
Yeah.
I love Paul Simon, and I I think he's still one of the most influential artists still
Oh yeah.
around today. Still
I would
still
say
around
so.
today. Yeah,
Yeah.
and uh, it's amazing that he's still he's what 80. He's in his 80s now, and he's
Yeah.
still amazing.
Yeah, I
So
mean, he released an album a few years ago,
yeah,
and it's definitely looking at life as you're nearing the end of it, and just a beautiful album. And I guess the thing that works with his, as Chris Gal calls it, his wimpy voice, is that it doesn't have to stay strong. It's always been there. And I saw him perform in 2011, and he sounded as good as he does on the albums. But
yeah.
he's not hitting he's not doing these large runs and notes. He's not Mariah Carey up there. He doesn't need to be. He uses his voice the way it needs to be used. And yeah, that with my history, it's kind of similar to you. I knew Simon and Garfunkel, but it wasn't something that my parents played a lot. I think my real introduction probably came with movies.
Yeah.
Hearing his stuff in movies is where I started to hear it. I'm like, ooh, that's good. What is that? And like I said, I found in the Coneheads, I hear that song, and I remember you can't not think of Chevy Chase
Yeah.
in the Call Me Out, because I think of that, and that's when Chevy Chase was at his full power. Before you realize he was a bit of a jerk, people still loved him, but at that point you get him on that video and people are going to watch it just because it's got Chevy Chase, because he's at full power vacation Chevy Chase that people are really loving. So not Memoirs of the Invisible Man Chevy Chase that's about to fall off and,
Well, off.
and disappear.
I feel like because of that's like the first time ever. Well, not ever. The first time in a long time that I even saw Paul Simon break a smile.
Yeah.
Like he's actually having fun
Mhm.
in the video. So I
Yeah.
think you got to see like John said, being on SNL, you got to see a little bit of crack up on him, and
Yeah.
smiles. But you just like he's human again. You can see he's human again, and I'm glad that that song came around to really show his human side, and he's not uh the the mean person, because a lot of people you can talk to a lot of people and they'll be like, I always thought he was mean, because you see him in
Yeah.
all these videos or in interviews, and he's just, I wouldn't call him mean, he's just very straight.
Very serious.
He's
Yeah.
a straight serious guy, and
Mhm.
he's not, that's just the way, that's his personality. And and then probably Edie Brickell probably lightened him up a little bit as well, so
Yeah.
she's kind of,
Yeah, that's what I think of now. I mean, you forget he was married multiple times
yeah,
before Edie Brickell, but they've stayed together pretty long. So I mean,
yeah.
they've had good longevity when you figure how many divorces he's got under his belt. So yeah, that's who you kind of think of. And she was super cool when she came out in the 80s. She didn't really do a lot afterwards. She's done the work with Steve Martin on Broadway with his banjo stuff and working on those things. So she's not MTV famous anymore, but yeah, I think of her and
Oh,
Paul
she's still
Simon
famous.
very
Yeah,
well.
yeah, she's still
Yes.
famous. She's still around.
Well, I
But
mean, she's
yeah,
still famous, but
yeah,
she's got her one song, and that thing still slaps. I mean, I'm not
yeah.
gonna Despairs that song. I could pop that on at any time. I'll still bob my head to it.
Yeah.
Heard the new
It's still,
Bohemians doing it right.
still
I can't.
resonates today.
I haven't listened to the full album. It's one of those ones my dad owned it, and he would just skip to the song. So it's like
Yeah.
I don't know the rest of the album. Don't know if I need to. That song's a jam though. Although we'll keep that one. All right. So yeah, my history, and also a kind of funny history ever was with the song and talking about him kind of resonating through time. I was past 3 years ago in class, and I hand back a paper that was with a low grade, and this girl goes, "Hello, darkness, my old friend." I was like, wait a second, you're in
Yeah.
5th grade. How do you know that? How else? TikTok.
Yeah, TikTok or Disturbed one.
Yeah, but it was. She's like, oh, it's on TikTok. That's the song they play when bad things happen. It's like, okay, well,
Yeah,
props to you, 5th grader, for knowing who Paul Simon is, because we were past the era of Guitar Hero where kids started to find interest in good music because it was something that they had on Guitar Hero.
Yeah.
Now the Guitar Hero was over. Now it's TikTok. So they rediscovered him. But I just burst out laughing. Like, how do you know that? You have no right to know what that is. Maybe they have parents who play the music, but no, she's like, no, it's TikTok. So it's like, of course, it's always TikTok. But
Always
yeah,
TikTok.
that was funny. I said, you're allowed to revise your paper. It's okay. You can break the sorrow of break the cycle of sadness and fix it and get a better grade. But yeah, when one of my 5th graders busted that out, I was laughing. So yes,
Yeah.
Guitar Hero.
I'm better at air guitar than I am Guitar Hero. So
yes, play the air guitar. I remember, wasn't there like an '80s show where it was trying to do the best air guitar lip syncing you could do, and
yeah, putting on the hits or something like that.
yeah, that's it. Like I'm ready for that. Like I can rock the hell out of nothing. Set me up with that and just an air guitar. I'm ready to jam. All right, so let's dig into our overall thoughts. So, what are your overall thoughts with this one?
Man, what I love about this album for the very first time, it's been a while since we've had a lot of ballads, even with certain even with a couple of the hip hops that we listened to and rap albums, we had some ballads in a way. This just had me moving. And from drop. So you start off with The Boy in the Bubble, you go into Graceland, and you just keep going, and then of course when the Call Me Al comes on, I'm doing the whole the
videos. It's in your mind, of course.
Yeah, it's embedded. But I loved it. It's there's some rough songs on it overall, but the majority of it, you're just moving, you're enjoying it. It's got good beats. I love the rhythms, what we just talked about, the African rhythms that are in there. You got some jazz, you got some country, a little bit of country elements in a few of the songs. So especially in Graceland, come on, I mean, that's literally Graceland. Everybody knows Graceland as far as Elvis and all that, but I loved it. I from start to finish, I was there for the whole album, and I didn't find any problems that like we listened. What was the one where I was like, man, I could skip that one. Like last week, I think we had a couple skips. The Bruce Springsteen, I had a couple skips. This one was great.
Yeah.
So I just
my skips are going to be for different reasons on this one, which we'll discuss when we get there. But yeah, I mean, my overall thoughts are similar to yours. It was a, as soon as you hear it, it's different, and especially it's so many things from the 80s just kind of reek of the 80s. Now this one did kind of create some stuff I didn't love, because every movie wanted a whimsical bass that kind of sounded like the Paul Simon album, because they were too cheap to hire an orchestra. It's like, come on, movies, hire a friggin' orchestra. I hate those guitar sounds and all this. So it kind of influenced things that weren't great, but it always does. I mean, look at how many Pearl Jam clones there are. They're not all good. They're rarely good. So it's like, it led to some things that were not great, but it took me a couple listens to really feel this one properly. I'm not gonna say I played it on first play and I was just like, okay, it's a masterpiece because I'm supposed to think it's a masterpiece. Because then I get my stubborn side, like, wait, you tell me it's the best thing. What if you're wrong? And then I listen to it again, like, okay, it's growing on me because, like you said, his vocal delivery is it sometimes is a complete contradiction to the bouncy, high energy music with his kind of mid-level monotone vocals. So you have to kind of get used to that. But I think overall it won me over. It did pass the run test. So it's got enough energy and beat that I'm like, okay, I'm feeling this one. Not like the Cowboy Junkies, where I think I enjoyed the album more than you did, but regardless, it was a massive failure in the run test. It's the second song in, no more. My pace is dropping. This is not working for me.
Yep.
But this one, it's bouncy. It's blowing up with energy, so you can keep your pace moving. And Paul Simon, the run test for Graceland is a pass. For some of the Simon and Garfunkel albums, probably wouldn't pass the run test. Like I love them as albums, but I'm not about to try to run to any of the Simon and Garfunkel albums because they're gonna suck. They're gonna suck the speed out of you.
Yeah, you're not gonna get too much running out of it.
And the 112-degree weather I was running in a couple days ago, that was sucking my energy enough. I needed something that had motion and movement. So yeah, someone was saying in the last show, like 102, that's not so bad. Well, we hit 112 this week, so there's true horrid. And it rained, so it's that with the unlikely California humidity. Although you guys are gonna just laugh at us when we complain about California humidity. It's like, you don't know humidity. It was at 40%. That's, in California, we're all screaming, but it's like when it drops to 40. It's like if it drops to 60 and people bust out the Uggs and the parkas. It's like, get 60, man. What the hell? But that's California. It's oh wow, it's the bit of chill in the air. I best bring out those Uggs I spent all that money on in Beverly Hills so I can look cool.
Yeah.
I have gone on a tangent.
You with the tangent? Yes.
It happened. It's always going to happen. And yeah,
whoever had at 30 minutes, you won the pot tonight.
Yeah. If you're betting, yes. So, but yeah, and this one I'll have to say there's not going to be an appearance with Blurry Alan Rickman because I don't think he's down with this album.
No, I don't think Blurry Alan Rickman would be here for this one.
No, he's not here. He may enjoy it at his home, but when he's kicking it in the bar, in the dark, in the smoke, he's not busting out Graceland.
Nope.
Last week he'd like Cowboy Junkies. All right, so let's start digging into the best song. So what's one of the songs that stood out to you on this one?
So everybody's gonna say, probably everybody says "Call Me Out" as the best song, but man, I love Graceland. I love the first beginning of this album, but Graceland really, like I said, stands out to me. I love the country vibe, the Americana vibe, so you're feeling it. But it's about, again, like I said, you can tell he's going through midlife crisis or he's going through something as he's writing these songs, especially Graceland is it's just a good song. And probably Call Me Al is my number 2. I love Boy in the Bubble, and then Diamonds on the Soles of Her Shoes. I mean, those are my top 4. But I think because of Diamonds on the Soles of Her Shoes has been around just as long as Call Me Al has, and because that came out before the album even dropped, if I remember right. And just I like those, but you can't be, if you're not dancing to You Call Me Al, if you're not dancing to that and the Boy in the Bubble, my Boy in the Bubble starts and you're just like, all right, it's got the dash head bob, we're doing good, and I'm up dancing. So you can ask my daughters, they're like, Dad, what are you doing? And I'm dancing away because it's a good album. And so those are my top 4.
I'm feeling it. So join me or, go in the other room because I'm embarrassing you. So, yeah, I had Graceland on that. I love that it's kind of a road trip song
Yeah, it's
where
definitely road trip.
healing through the road trip. It wasn't about him loving Elvis, where last week when we were doing Cowboy Junkies, it was about their love for Elvis and they were grappling with the loss when they were writing it. But this one, Graceland just kind of kept coming in his mind. So he actually took the road trip because he couldn't get it out of his head.
Yeah.
And he grapples with this love and loss and pain and the trip to Graceland. His children are there and he is healing on this trip. So grace, can be interpreted not just as Elvis's home, but he's feeling the grace and the healing. So I love that this is, one of those good road trip songs that you could play on a road trip and it would fit right in. If you're going on a long road trip, you play this one and it's going to keep that movement going as you're going through. So I also had Diamonds on the Soles of Her Shoes. I love what Lady Blacksmith Mambazo did for this one.
Oh yeah.
Their choral work, it starts it and it's, you're fully immersed in what they're doing and then he brings in his part of it and it's just such a strong song. I could not find the SNL. Yeah, it was something I wanted to.
The harmonies are so good.
Yeah,
so good.
Love that. So yeah, Call Me Al, that one. I mean, if you were an 80s kid like we are, you're not, especially an 80s kid who loved vacation movies and anything that had Chevy Chase at that time, this video, it comes in with you. And honestly, as a kid, I kind of lumped it into the Don't Worry, Be Happy category because I didn't pay any attention to the lyrics. I just thought it's kind of a boppy song. It's all good. It's happy, but there's actually more lyrical depth to it than a Bobby McFerrin song. No insults to Bobby McFerrin. You bring happiness to the world, and who can fight with that?
Because Bobby, we don't worry, we're happy.
Yeah, see, I got no beef with Bobby McFerrin. That's not an insult to the song, but as a kid, I kind of both put them together because they were kind of world beat kind of vibes and happy go lucky. And I didn't understand the whole Betty and Al thing, but it was because a French composer, Pierre Boulez, I butchered that. So again, forgive me.
Sounds right to me anyways.
He got their names wrong. And he kept calling Paul Al. He kept calling Paul's then wife Peggy Harper. Yeah, I don't know how many times that man's been married.
Three times.
So it's Carrie Fisher, Peggy Harper, and then Edie Brickell. So So I was thinking he just made this run of wives, but yeah, they kept calling Peggy Betty, and Paul Simon. His writing method was kind of as things happened to him, he would write down lyrics and thoughts, and he had these yellow notepads he kind of traveled around with. And this one, he thought it was amusing and stored it away as a lyric idea for later, and that's what it became. So using that particular just silly mix up of their names, he turned it into the song, and I'm sure most people listening to it had no idea what the heck he meant by Call Me Al, but now if you do the research, you find out, it's just because some guy couldn't get his name right. And Paul, Al, I guess, kind of one syllable things, and if you're French, maybe you're going to mishear them, but I also had Crazy Love. I liked that one. I liked the kind of African guitar rhythms and subtle flute because I thought some of the things got a little too aggressive with some of the instrumentation, as we'll talk about later. But I like the subtlety of this one, and just that it was just this nice smooth song with those world beat vibes to it. So yeah, that was the other one that I had picked out. So let's dig into our favorite lyrics.
Yeah.
So, it's a Paul Simon album, so there's plenty of good lyrics to go around. So, what's one of the songs or lyrics that stood out to you? And hopefully we didn't double up on all of them.
I mean, I'll just go with the Owl song, because again, he's talking. I mean, here's where he's definitely talking about himself, because he's talking about getting his, the waistline and the getting a
Yeah.
little heavy. Man, I just love, and then you told the story, so Betty and Al
Mhm.
himself. He's just living. So yeah, I love Betty. I love the whole story behind Betty and Al on that,
Yeah.
and but it just brings the whole song into it. So that
Yeah.
was one of my favorites.
Yeah, I had lyrics from that one because there's a lot of the man
Yeah,
walks down the street, but the man being him. But I like
him.
the last one where a man walks down the street. It's a street in a strange world. Maybe it's a third world. Maybe it's his
It's
first time around. Doesn't speak the language. He holds no currency. He's a foreign man. He's surrounded by the sound of cattle in the marketplace, scatterings in orphanages. He looks around. He sees angels in the architecture, spinning in infinity, and says, "Amen" and "Hallelujah."
oh
So
yeah,
he
that's
was
all.
so moved by what he was seeing and what he was experiencing. This trip to South
South
Africa,
Africa. Yeah,
just it brought back his lyrical inspiration, his musical inspiration, and just kind of inspired him on a deeper spiritual level. He's just looking around and admiring this beauty that surrounds him. Not the stereotypical beauty you would think of, just, this perhaps third world town he's walking in, and he just loves everything that he's seeing. So that was one of the lyrics that I put down. I mean, there's a lot of great lyrics in there, and I think that's what I always
yeah.
neglected
Plus,
to see when I listened to it as a kid. But at 86, I would have been 12. What
yeah,
12-year-olds paying attention to the lyrics?
we're focusing on we're focusing on Chevy Chase for the most part, and you're focusing on
Yeah.
the comedic timing. So yeah,
Mhm. And the
yeah,
boppiness. Like, okay, I'm
the
bopping my
Bobby.
head, I'm having a good time, but what's he singing about? I don't know. I'm not soft in the middle yet. No, it's
Yeah,
like now at 50, it hits different. Like, shut up, Paul Simon. Quit judging me.
yeah. I'm gonna take
Try
us
my
back.
best.
I'm gonna take us back to Graceland, though.
Yes.
This is the like I said. This is why the song hits. It's my favorite. And I'm going to Graceland, Memphis, Tennessee. I'm going to Graceland, poor boys and pilgrims with families. I mean, just that's that start of the chorus, really. But I love um, the Mississippi Delta was shining like, and this is the beginning of the song.
Mm.
The Mississippi Delta was shining like a national guitar. I'm following the river down the highway through the cradle of the soul. So he's talking about getting into America and sing, and I like that you brought up grace, because that does make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
He's finally feeling the grace, and he's letting a lot go.
Yeah. It's definitely kind of releasing the pain. So I had lyrics from that one as well, but this was his, definitely Carrie Fisher lyrics, where she comes back to tell me she's gone, as if I didn't know that, as if I didn't know my own bed, as if I'd never noticed the way she brushed her hair from her forehead. And she said, "Losing love is like a window in your heart. Everybody sees you're blown apart. Everybody sees the wind blow." So
Yeah,
yeah, he was grappling with the pain, but eventually coming to terms with it in this. And just this road trip, this driving, seeing America, sitting with his children, is just giving him those healing powers.
yeah,
And now he's feeling the grace, not just necessarily Graceland, because it's not that he was such an Elvis guy that this is gonna heal him. It's just the process of getting there is what's healing him from losing Carrie Fisher, which would have been who he lost just more recently, and the one that kind of brought on the severe writer's block he was going through.
yeah, yeah,
All right. So, did you have any other lyrics? I don't want to
yeah. I
step
know
on
you're
yours, so
good.
go for it.
Boy in the Bubble. This
Okay.
is another song where, like, I mean, Boy in the Bubble, Graceland, and Al are all perfectly lyric the whole way through. Like we've listened to Paul Simon songs But I'm really the second verse of this song really hits me, and it's the way we look to a distant constellation that's a dying in a corner of the sky. These are the days of miracle and wonder, and don't cry, baby, don't cry, don't cry. I
Yeah.
don't know what music hits everybody in so many different ways, and I don't know why. This just brought up, it's not like it's a sad song or anything
No.
overall. It just made me think of my dad, and
Yeah.
that's the vibe I got from it. So I think that's why those lyrics really stood out to me. But I just thought that was just such a great verse, and such just once you listen to the song, like I said, it's a relatively upbeat song, so
Mhm.
you're not like sitting there already feeling sad or anything. But it was just a moment where I felt my dad, and
Mhm.
so it was. I just love the lyrics of that. But that whole song, I mean, literally, just go listen to the boy in the bubble, listen to the whole song. You will not be disappointed with any of the lyrics.
Yeah, from what I read, it's kind of stream of conscious lyrics in a lot of parts of things he saw either on the news or had heard about, and that's why you have what is it,
Baby,
the baby carriage with the bomb, the the um, lasers in the jungle, so things
yeah,
that were changing in the world, and it's crazy because so much of it still feels relevant, where you
yeah,
could hear those same lyrics and the same things he's talking about seeing out there, and they're still as valid today as they were in 1986, if
yeah.
not more so.
Yeah,
So yeah,
he's
it's
literally
crazy.
he's literally in Africa. I mean, I feel like that's exactly what that first verse is about, is seeing the war torn
Yeah.
countries and things like that. That, I mean, at least the way I look at it, I mean, it could be something totally different, but that's how I felt. But
Mhm.
it just, I mean, I thought, he's that first verse he's singing about war,
Yeah.
but I mean, and he brings it into that second verse where he's trying to add lot, there's something still good about this world, and there's something still good about being around. That's the way I looked at it. But it just, again, the words,
Yeah.
just something reminded me of my dad. But I know where he's
Mhm.
at, where he's talking about. And it's like, I mean, that maybe that's me. Maybe I read into it way wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing is with with lyrics, they can always come at you in different places wherever, depending on how your life connects to them.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's one that, yeah, it's loaded with good lyrics,
Oh
and you
yeah.
could pick out as many as you want. But I thought that was your mother had some interesting lyrics because it's
Ah.
talking about looking back on meeting her and that joy, and then, well, that was your mother and that was your father before you was born, dude, when life was great. You're the burden of my generation. I sure do love you. Well, let's get that straight. So it's kind of something you don't hear a lot. Most of the songs you hear written and directed at the children are, Cats in the Cradle, and, you
Yeah.
know, they're they're looking at, the joy of the parenthood or the crappy father, but he's looking at like, okay, look, I may love you, but these were my best days. These were what I loved. So it was an interesting lyrical take on kind of reminiscing with your children and saying there was greatness back then and now you're a burden, but I love you. Not trying to say he doesn't love his child, not saying anything, but not coming at it with this pure, you're, you know, oh gosh, like beautiful boy or something,
Yeah.
these lyrics that are just gushing, or isn't she lovely?
Yeah.
These gushing over the child lyrics, like now you're a little older, you're a bit of a pain in the ass, but I love you. So,
You
but
you
I'm
are the
thinking back of
burden.
those days.
You are the burden. I mean, that literally says that you are the burden. I sure do love you. I
Yeah.
mean, you 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 get under my skin sometimes, but man, yeah, I love you.
Yeah. So he's not wrong. I mean, it's kind of like, all right, any parent has that moment where they feel it. You hope that your dad's not Paul Simon because he's gonna express it.
You're you're a shit, but I love you.
It's
Yeah.
like you were that child was on his nerves that day, and he just
Uh,
immortalized him in a song. So yeah,
Yeah,
I loved that one. So any other
that's cool.
lyrics you want to talk
Yeah,
about before we move on?
no, those are some of my favorite ones. But I mean, like I said, this this album is one of those ones again where you're you may not like the song, or it may not be on your your top five, whatever. But every lyric is just so good,
Hmm.
so good, and
Oh yeah,
you know. So no, we're good.
yeah.
I'm good.
All right. So anyone's to skip? You have any skips on this one?
No, I don't have any skips. I wasn't a I mean, not that I was skip. I wasn't a big fan of the, and I know I'm gonna probably take some credit. It's the I feel like it's really the true ballad or the only ballad on this one, but it was the under African skies. I like it. I like it.
Mhm.
It's just for some reason you go from you call me Al into this kind of a little bit slower. I really wish that had been either before you call out or after Crazy Love. I feel like right before that was your mother. I felt like it would have fit right there. So, but I'm not skipping it. It was just not my. I maybe it's the placement of that song
Mm.
that really made me go why. But it's still a good song. I don't want any of the fans out there to get on to me for that. It's still a good song. It just I felt like it was misplaced. There's not
Mm.
one. This is definitely an album where you listen to side one, flip it over, and you listen to side two, and you enjoy every bit of it.
Yeah.
So no skips for me.
So I had Under African Skies as a skip for a
Yeah.
different reason, and that reason would be Linda Ronstadt. Not because I give a crap about her in one way or the other, but
I hear.
she was a scab at that point. All these musicians weren't playing Sun City, they weren't playing
Yeah.
South Africa in the apartheid audiences, and Linda Ronstadt went and played multiple shows to all white audiences, knowing
Yeah.
that this
Yeah.
country was deeply rooted in
Pretty neat.
apartheid. So
Yeah. Yeah.
the fact that Paul Simon grabbed her of all people, like there's some other people with a good voice, and that's what he said. Like he
Yeah.
thought that it was direct. He's collaborating with her because she's a talented artist, but she's doing the backing vocals, even though she's played to these white only audiences, which Paul Simon broke the embargo. He went to South Africa, he played with South African musicians, but he didn't grab up all white South
Yeah.
African musicians. And even the critics who liked the album, Robert Christgau, made
Yeah.
sure he gave some jabs at
Oh yeah.
the
And
fact that he picked her to do anything on this album.
there was that they were uppercuts. I read that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were up there. I figured that was I mean, I still think the only reason he picked her was because of her voice, and
Yeah.
the heart definitely the harmonies were there for that song. But I mean, I could see why you'd skip it, but
Yeah, and he said he oh, see, he writes like an English major, which I thought was funny. But he said, yeah, he said he picked the scab Linda Ronstadt, which was a slap into the face of the ANC, whether he admits it or not. So it was just, I would say it was poorly conceived to bring someone who had that controversy, and he knew she had played to those all white audiences, and really kind of that's a slap in the face to the great African musicians he was playing with,
yeah,
because these same musicians wouldn't be allowed to play in these venues that she was playing, these kind of resort Sun City ones. And I know there was the I ain't gonna play Sun City song, I remember, from the 80s.
yeah,
I didn't know what the heck he was talking about. I had no clue because, I was 11 or 12 when I guess I would have been 11 when this album was released. And when they were singing those songs about Sun City, I didn't know. You find out about apartheid and the terrible injustice of it all later on in life. But the fact that he would pick her when you could have found another good voice, he could have
true,
found a good African voice to supplement this song and not need to use a scab who knowingly cashed the checks in these all white venues and took the money and not just did it once and thought, oh, whoops, I didn't realize. Like, no, she did it multiple times.
She did it more than
And
once. Yeah.
that I skipped this song because find something else. Find someone else to harmonize with that isn't, directly hurting these same musicians that you're trying to boost up. So that's why this song goes down as a skip. As a song, I don't mind it. It's fine. Like you said,
Yeah.
perhaps track listing wise, it could have been placed in a different spot. And we talk about that all the time.
Yeah.
And it's rare that we find an album that's tracked perfectly. There's always little changes that could be made to make an album more impactful. This song moving somewhere, but I just say move Linda Ronstadt out of it altogether because she's hurting the people he's trying to make better.
Make better.
So
Yeah.
for that, I skip it. Not anything. I don't mind the song. I think the song is perfectly fine. It could have been in a different place. Maybe even you throw it as the opener because it kind of sets a different tone, and then you go into the Boy in the Bubble. But regardless of where you put it, leave it off if it's got Linda Ronstadt, because she was a massive hypocrite. And I mean, I probably don't like her music anyway, but come on now.
She kind of disappeared. Well, I don't want to say she disappeared, but she definitely was not around as much after all that anyways. Yeah. If I remember right, I mean, she didn't fade into obscurity, but
yeah,
she definitely wasn't on a lot of people's lists. So
yeah, so they, the musicians that he played with, even though there was the band, they praised Paul Simon for doing it, but what did they think of Linda Ronstadt doing it? I mean, I'm sure they got paid very well for this album. Actually, that's one of the things in the research I found, that they were getting paid in 1986 money, $200 an hour to record this album. So he compensated the musicians he worked with really well, which is good. It's not like he went down there and gave them pennies to the dollar because he could. But you figure you're not only talking 1986 money, you're talking 1986 money in South Africa, where that $200 per hour probably set them up for months.
Yeah.
So Paul Simon did right by them. The only thing he did wrong by them with was bringing in Linda Ronstadt. And yeah, I mean, what he did to the U.S. musicians he worked with is a whole different story. But that we could talk about Gumboots. Gumboots is my other skip song, and it was, I think, you have a limitation on how much accordion I can stomach in a song. And we got all the accordion quota was met with The Boy in the Bubble. And then it comes back in this one, and then there's some really shrill woodwinds going on. So I had this one as a skip. Weird Al is the only musician I justify using accordion in more than one song per album.
I just could dance, I guess. I thought it was a really good, like I said, my daughters think I'm crazy, but it's just a good little dancing around song and moving around the house.
And I just thought that it was kind of the weakest lyrically on the album. But I mean, we're talking about a skip besides the Linda Ronstadt one. It's kind of just, you know what? I'm not an accordion guy unless it's Weird Al. He gets the pass. Weird Al, you can play the accordion every song. You have my blessing.
All right.
You need it. But yeah, anybody else, you get one song. That's it. I'm not here for polka. I'm not here for mariachi. One song. Reached your limits?
Is this our first accordion song? This might be the first.
Yeah,
album we've had. Yeah,
first with accordion. So yeah, there you go. And then there was a lot of controversy as well with the two final songs. So those were, let me get to those. I have them.
You had All Around the World. That's the last one. All Around the World, or the Myth
All Around the World, and That Was Your Mother, which I liked lyrically. I thought it was an interesting song. But the Zydeco musicians that he brought in, the Good Rockin', Dopesy, and the Twisters, they claimed that they wrote the music to this song, and that their contributions were more than just being studio work. And they fought for co-writing credit. They complained a lot, but in the end, they didn't file any kind of a lawsuit. I know he paid them the $200 an hour, but that was one of the songs recorded outside of Africa. And I would
That
say
was
the
in New
ones
York.
outside of Africa were the least impressive of the numbers on the album. And then Los Lobos, they really got angry about it. They spoke out in multiple interviews saying that they kind of did a jam session, and that's where the bones of this song came in. And they said that he robbed them, he took their arrangement and just put his own lyrics in there. Paul Simon denied it. So again, you're talking two people with different allegations. Who's telling the truth, or where does the truth lie? It's probably somewhere in the middle.
In the middle, yeah.
And they again said that he took it and should have given them co-writing credit and given them more. And they were a lot more angry than the Zydeco band.
Zydeco.
They never pursued legal action either.
I wonder if it's because it did so well. I wonder if they thought, nah, this is just gonna be. I'm not saying that's what it is. I'm speculating.
Yeah.
You'd have to because again, they're coming off of seeing him not do so great as of late. So I just wonder if that had to play into it, and they thought, well, and then now it's boom. It's the because if I'm not mistaken, that all came out after he won the Grammy. Those two, if I'm not mistaken, all of that stuff came out after he won the Grammy. So,
so it could have been that they might have wanted songwriting credits, which would have given them more money, as the album was selling 16 million copies as well. So they probably thought his last album tanked. He needs us more than we need him. And then all of a sudden he blew up. So yeah, it's hard to say.
Way off.
All right. So now we go to our final one. I think it's going to be kind of easy this week. Some weeks are easier than others. I think this one's an easy one. So what are you saying? Keep it or return it to the used bin?
I'm keeping it. It's hard for me, to even though Hearts and Bones was bad, it's hard for me to say I'm throwing it away or putting it back in the used bin. I'm definitely keeping. You have to keep Paul Simon. I feel like it's a duty. It's a duty to keep Paul Simon in here.
Yeah, you got to keep it.
Yeah. So
besides Hearts and Bones, that one can go to the used bin.
So yeah, it's hard to turn him away, just because of, again, this is a man that I'm sure you ask any artist from 70s, 80s what their influences were, and if you don't have Paul Simon or even Art Garfunkel, as part of your your inspiration to write and sing, it's I feel, again, this is emotional dash and thinking with my emotions more than probably with my head, but I feel like there's a lot of people that owe him credit.
Oh yeah.
As far as inspiration goes.
If you think, I don't know if you listen to a lot of earlier Vampire Weekend, but if you listen to the early Vampire Weekend stuff, it is just loaded with this kind of world rhythm, and Paul Simon and Peter Gabriel hugely influenced them. So if you were a fan of Vampire Weekend, you can't deny the influence of this album in particular on Vampire Weekend and what they did in their beginnings.
Yeah. I'll have to listen to some of their albums. That's one I can definitely say I've never, but
okay. Yeah, you would enjoy them. I think that I might have one that I haven't heard of there, so we can see if we can grab it up for the next round. But yeah, they had their first two albums have a lot of kind of world beat. There's ska vibes on some of the songs, that they kind of grabbed it from everywhere, but they were coming out in the early 2000s and it sounded different and unique, because by then, the hipsters they don't even know Paul Simon was doing this kind of stuff. Right. The hipsters wanted something new to latch onto, and Vampire Weekend ended up being kind of the the one that blew up from that New York scene that was going on in the early 2000s. I mean, I love that scene.
Just
The early 2000s were just loaded with good music. It's so much good stuff out
I
there.
always find it, it's obviously it's a generational thing,
Mm-hmm.
but I always find it, we're not that far, the early 2000s, you're still not that far removed from Graceland for the most part, maybe 10 years. So it always amazes me because I see it with country music. I see it with rock and roll still and music today where you're like, somebody will say, oh, this is a great sound. And I'm like, but you have Paul Simon or you have Waylon Jennings or you have, so it's, I mean, I totally get it's a generational thing. But I'm like, here I am still alive. So I know these people still exist. They existed first. But I think that's great because in a way it you may have missed it for a couple of years. It's some, like you said, this band comes out in the early 2000s and gives you a whole fresh new vibe and take on it. So I think that's just another way to add to the world of music. So I think it helps in a way, except for pop country. I will never say anything good about pop country.
Yeah. So no nice words will be said. All right. So yeah, that, I mean, I'm keeping this one too. It's gonna stay in the collection. I have a pretty good Paul Simon collection in the vinyl, so this one remains there. And it's something that, when if I'm in the right mood, I'll pop it on because it is a different vibe. It's not like all the time you're gonna want to play this one. Now, of course, my Spotify is gonna think it's my favorite thing again. My Spotify is like, here's something. I love playing the DJ because it'll play some interesting stuff. But now here's some stuff you've been vibing to. So here's Queens of the Stone Age. Here's Tribe Called Quest. Here is Cowboy Junkies. And now we can add Paul Simon to that. So my whole mix is just going to be what I played for the show. I was like, no, I played that plenty. Leave me alone, Spotify.
Yeah, when I go on my walks and stuff, Spotify's like, what are you in the mood for? Stevie Wonder? Do you want some Alabama shakes? Mine's the same way.
Yeah, but yeah, we've completely destroyed our poor Spotify. Although Spotify, Godspeed You Black Emperor, took all their music off of Spotify, and that was always one of my top plays because I'd play it when I was writing. Okay. So like that sucks because I mean I have all their stuff on vinyl, but I don't bring a record player to the library when I'm going to write.
Or when you're running or walking or.
So it sucks because they don't give the digital downloads anymore like they used to. You used to get those little codes in the vinyl, and I could have at least downloaded them. So now kind of stuck without a way to stream it. I guess it's probably on YouTube, but it's like, when a band takes their stuff off, it sucks. Because then if you own their vinyl, it's your only way to hear it. And even CD, I have some of their stuff on CD, but my computer doesn't have a CD player. Yeah. It's like that became an obsolete form. I'd have to buy an external one to plug in. But yeah, I mean, in the end, there's plenty of other stuff, but it won't play that because that's always thinks that's what I'm vibing to. But
I'm just gonna wait to see what my Wrapped is gonna be.
Oh my gosh, it's gonna be bonkers.
Sure. Yeah, Wrapped's gonna be wild.
I'm interested to see it because it's gonna be completely out of its mind. But yeah, we'll see. So next week, once and for all, because you came for Pet Sounds. Ben, who's gonna join us, had hit one of the people that play in his band had a family emergency, so he had to do some emergency rehearsals because they have a major single coming out. So he will join us next week, or we'll have to cover it on our own. But I'm hoping he's here because it'd be interesting to have a musician's take on what's going on that album. Because Dash and I, we can press play on a CD. At least that's my musical knowledge. I mean, I can do some audio editing and stuff like that, but to have a musician, because there's a lot that goes on in Pet Sounds. I mean, I've already done the research because I thought we were going to be covering it this week, and there's a lot going on. And to hear a musician who loves the album, he's not coming at it as a first impression, so that it'll be interesting to hear his take on how it influenced musicians and him in particular. So next week, hopefully with Ben, but one way or the other, we got to cover it because then it's time for Dash and I to come up with our new
and
albums,
our
because
new albums.
we'll have 1 week off, and that's because I'll be down seeing Modest Mouse and Flaming Lips, and that one, unlike last week's Def Leppard, that was a 5-minute drive for me to get to the venue even after the show. That one's down in San Diego, so we're talking 2 hours, and I'm not going to be able to make it. I would just miss the entire Flaming Lips set, and I do not want to do that.
Tell them hello from Oklahoma.
Yes. All right. So that's what we'll be covering next week. And I will be back on Saturday with Saturday Morning Comic Talk with some new guests. And Dash will be on Saturday Morning Comic Talk in a couple weeks. So he'll be coming back. Dash, Kevin, and Sarah. So reuniting our Justice League creators from a few shows ago. And Katrina Oates, who is supposed to be our editor on the show. She's supposed to be joining us. So I'll offer her the job. Like, all right, you can still take this job, because, man, trying to, like, this week was a hard week. I was like all so close to saying I can't do this week's show. We're gonna have to postpone it. But I like, you know what? I was researching it and doing all my notes at my recesses. So we got here, we got done, and next week we talk about Pet Sounds by the Beach Boys. And until then, have a great rest of your week. We will see you on Saturday.
Yeah.